Welcome to Calvin Logic, where we take my thoughts and use my crazy logic to talk about anything and everything. Today, we are talking about Thor Love and Thunder. Alrighty guys, so as some of you may know, a lot of directors and movie fans and YouTubers have been doing watch parties and going through their favourite movies and TV shows together and just bringing everybody together and entertaining each other in this crazy time. And so Taika jumped on Instagram a few days ago and did the same for Thor Ragnarok. But in that time, he also revealed some things for Thor 2. Thor 2. Well done to me. Thor 4, Love and Thunder. And so there's been a few different videos going, oh, this is the news he put out there. I'm not going to do that because you can go and find those anywhere. What I am going to do is give my thoughts on the news and not just the news he shared there, but other news we've had in the past, and give you my thoughts on how I think this movie's stacking up. So the big one I think that I'm going to start with is Thor's appearance alongside other characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And so everybody's like, well, what's happening there? Well, we know from Taika, but also from Vin Diesel, that Thor is going to be showing up in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but more importantly for this video, that the Guardians will be showing up in Thor 4. Wow, that's annoying to say. And so thanks to them, we know that. Now my thoughts on that is, yay, let's go. I am interested to see how it's going to turn out, because originally Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was supposed to be before the upcoming Thor movie. But with everything that happened with James Gunn, that got pushed back. So it will be interesting to see what they do to adjust the script of Guardians 3 and just make it sync with the rest of the Marvel Universe. But nevertheless, I'm really happy about the Guardians interacting with Thor in a couple more movies. And yeah, it sounds like they're not going to be huge roles, or not all of them anyway. I'll link this channel down below. It's The Cosmic Wonder, and he does a lot of movie-related leaks and just talking about them. And so, not that this is confirmed, not that this is official or even true, but he found a leaked script from one of the sources that actually got a majority of Infinity War and Endgame's story right. And so he looked at that and shared that, and that goes on to say that Groot and Rocket are actually main supporting characters in Thor 4, and the other Guardians are just cameos. If that's true, that'll be really cool. I would love to see those three interacting more. Taika said in his live stream that this is going to be crazier than Thor Ragnarok, and make that seem like a sane and safe movie. So this one, with potentially those three in heaps of scenes together, with Jane Foster being back, with all the Asgardians, with the villain and potential other characters, is just going to be massive. And it's, to me, it actually sounds like, so if you think of it in the Marvel Universe, you've got the individual films, then you've got the odd team-up film that they're doing, like in Thor 3 with Thor and Hulk. Then your next scale up is your Avengers movies, like Avengers 1 and 2. Then it goes, you know, and I'm talking like scale of how many characters here. Then you got like Captain America Civil War, and then, oh, sorry, I lie. You've got Avengers, Guardians, Guardians 2, Avengers 2, somewhere around there. And then you've got Civil War. And then you've got the latest two Avengers movies, which had everybody in them for a chunk of them. And so this sounds to me like this movie is going to be on par, scale-wise, and character-wise, similar to like Civil War / Infinity War, how you've got so many cool characters. You've also got Korg and Meek and you know, all them coming back, and there's rumours that Mark Ruffalo jumped on the live stream and he said that they're looking at bringing Hulk back, even if it's just for a little bit, but that worked so well in Thor Ragnarok that they'd love to do it again. And so even though that would be awesome, oh no, I'll get into that in a minute. They're looking at bringing him back as well, and other rumoured characters like Beta Ray Bill. So this film is going to be massive and massively fun, and so I can't wait to see. Sounds like it might be a little bit, with everything going on, it might be one of those, you know, 2-hour 20 films, which would be amazing. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. On the subject of Hulk coming back, Mark Ruffalo jumped in, as I said, and he said that they are planning on hopefully bringing him back. They would like to. Now that would be very interesting. Him and Thor have this amazing chemistry, and the two actors, Mark Ruffalo and Chris Hemsworth, have amazing chemistry as well, which is why it works so well. But I know a lot of people love Professor Hulk, but personally I think that, like in the comics, Professor Hulk should have been a new character and done differently, at least. I didn't particularly like how they did it. I do like my Hulks big and brash and limited talking. I thought so far out of all the Hulks we've got in the MCU that Thor Ragnarok Hulk was the best. And in the way he looked, in the way he talked, and with his new skills as not just a pathetic boxer really and just smashing, but actually with a little bit more competence in fighting with big hammers and stuff like that. So that's been my favourite Thor. So that's been my favourite Hulk in the MCU. But if he shows up in Thor 4, I would be all for it. And yeah. Which leads into other characters showing up in the sense of recurring characters that are coming back. So we've got Korg and Meek and Jane Foster and Valkyrie and all the people in Asgard coming back. Unfortunately, because he's dead, we don't have Heimdall coming back, which is a massive shame. I loved what Idris Elba did with the character, and I loved the character. So unfortunately we won't be seeing him, but oh well. And yeah, it sounds like Meek's gonna be getting a couple of new bodies, which will be quite cool. I'd love to see a new exoskeleton for him. They're gonna go into Korg's backstory a little bit, which there are many routes they could go with that, but Taika has this way of making that character funny, even for small scenes like in Endgame. And yeah, I can't wait to see what twist he puts on that and where they go and what they do. And yeah, we've only really seen a couple of instances of him and his species. We had one of his species in Thor: The Dark World, right at the start, and all that big army of rock monsters, really. But we never really got to find out much about them, so it'd be cool to explore that. Jane Foster being in the movie as Lady Thor, that's an interesting one. In the comics, it's quite cool. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what they do with it. I'm glad that she's coming back. I love Natalie Portman as an actor. She has very cool range, very dynamic acting chops, let's say. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of people didn't think that her and Chris Hemsworth got along very well in the sense of acting together, like their chemistry wasn't very good, but I thought they For what the first movie was especially, yes, the second one was a bit of a letdown, but for the first movie especially, I thought it was really well done. And giving her a bit more to do, giving her some powers, and bringing her into more of a Valkyrie-like state as a badass good girl will be awesome. And her wielding Mjolnir will be even better. Um, and we could get some awesome comic book-like armor that she has, and yeah, so real excited for that. Real excited to see how they go, and if after this movie they bring her back in anything like another Thor movie or an Avengers movie or something like that. From the same video as the leak that I was talking about earlier, there are the guy was saying that there is potential for her to be working for Sword, which we saw in the post-credit scenes of Spider-Man Far From Home. And that lines up pretty well. She worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. in previous movies, so her working for Sword, considering that Sword is now essentially the new reformed S.H.I.E.L.D. In the MCU, after it had been taken down by Hydra, is just brilliant and would work perfectly. So her working for Sword, we could see that going forward in different capacities. Maybe she'll just cameo every now and then. And yeah, but they're introducing a lot of new characters, and they're fleshing out some smaller ones to make this universe like a comic book universe, which I'm really happy about. We've also got the potential for Beta Ray Bill. Now, Taika did say that they're still looking at how they can effectively put him in, and that not to get everybody's hopes up, but hopefully he'll be in the film. We know that he was briefly, or more specifically his head was briefly in Ragnarok, and of course he is a fan favourite, so it'd be brilliant to see him in there. But Kevin Feige has said that we know he's a fan favourite and we don't want to do him badly. We want to do him justice and give the fans what they want. So, with all the madness of this film, it sounds like, and there have been rumours from a lot of people, that he might show up in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and even potentially going forward, I'd love to see him join the Guardians team, because he's such a cool character. A lot of people think of him as a knockoff Thor, but he is very different. Yes, he has a hammer, but of course his hammer in the comics is Stormbreaker, and we know that that's Thor's hammer at the moment, so there's the potential for them to pull a new hammer out of the works, or even pull from the comics and grab a hammer from there that can do some cool and unique things to just liven up his character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that would be very cool to see, and add a little bit more new blood to the Guardians. The Guardians roster is very similar to things like the Avengers and the X-Men, where they do eventually rotate. So with people like Dave Bautista getting a little bit older and saying that, you know, he doesn't want to do this forever, and people like Zoe Saldana and Chris Pratt, who have been doing this for a while, they might choose to jump out at some time soon. So bringing some new blood in while keeping a couple like Mantis and hopefully even Adam Warlock coming in Guardians 3 to bring some new into the team, have some old, keep it going, would be brilliant and super fun. So Taika also said no more fat Thor. And to me, I think they did it reasonably well in Endgame. I liked the journey that Thor went on there, and yeah, I'm glad that they're stepping back away from that. I think One and Done is brilliant, and considering that he is supposed to, again, get a little bit more of a power-up, and the villain, whoever it may be, which I'll get into a minute, is more powerful than Hela and a lot of other villains that Thor's faced. I definitely think that him being more buff, more fit, more battle ready is the way to go. I think that whether it's in the start of Thor or in somewhere in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 where he shows up, them addressing that and showing him getting back to buffness and battle ready would be a good move to just kind of connect the dots, but not focusing on it for a long time is a brilliant move on their part. And it's a great way as well to change up his character's look again, keep evolving the armor, keep evolving the hair, and whether they keep some sort of beard or trim the beard off, whether they go with short hair or long hair, all these potentials. So it's a great way to keep the character moving, keep him different, and just keep us entertained. In Thor 4, Christian Bale will be playing the villain. Now, we've known that for a while. Taika did confirm it, but he didn't, unfortunately, say who he's going to be playing, which is a shame. But based on what we know, based on what Taika did say, which is that Thor will encounter space sharks, which are from the comic books, in a couple of areas, but for Thor, they are in the same comic book as Gorr the God Butcher, who would be the next step up. They said when they were redoing Hela for Thor 3 that they actually took a little bit of inspiration from Gorr's powers, and he has kind of like necromancy powers. He can make shadow armies and stuff. He has this big dark sword, and yeah, so they took a little bit of inspiration from him for Hela, and that led people back then to go, oh, might they bring him in? Well, going back to the leak, that was who they said that Christian Bale would be playing, that similar to the comics, Hela actually comes and kills a lot of his race when conquering the Nine Realms with Odin. And this has led Gorr to hate gods, which is how he came to be Gorr the God Butcher in the comics. He hated gods in the comics because they didn't help him and his people, and so translating that over to the movies would be awesome. And if it does turn out that they go down that road, and that Hela is the one who killed his people and the catalyst for Thor and whoever's with him to fight him, I reckon that's a brilliant way to do it. Gorr is very powerful, and in the comics it took more than one Thor to take him down, so that would also lead into bringing Jane Foster's Thor. But also, it would be an awesome way, in my opinion, to bring back, even if it's just for a scene or maybe a scene and a half, for him to do a flashback and show Hela conquering, and even with Odin really, conquering the Nine Realms and, you know, potentially killing people on his planet, and bringing an awesome character that people loved from Thor Ragnarok into this movie, kind of connecting it more, and also just developing her character a bit more. There were a lot of complaints that, oh no, she's, you know, finally Marvel had got a one-off villain that wasn't as bland as some of the other ones, especially from Phase 1. And people were like, no, why would you kill off such a great character? Well, now we might see her, even just for a brief second. We might get to see what she can do. And with that, we might even get to see a little bit of what younger Odin could do when he was in his prime, filled with all his powers, which would be just wow. And it would also circle into Taika saying, you know, this movie's going to be crazy, which would be awesome. Odin's power is off the charts. Hela's power was getting close to off the charts, so off the charts power subjugating a planet would be brilliant, and it would add a nice dynamic in evolving the cinematic universe. We know that Marvel's going back in time in these movies. We know that they're bringing in the Eternals and things like that, so it's going to be an awesome way to kind of keep the timeline flowing and match things up. So Thor being in both his upcoming movie but also Guardians 3 has led a lot of people to speculate and hope that in this upcoming Thor movie that he doesn't die and that he stays alive, and I reckon that's backed up by what Chris Hemsworth said to Ellen on the press conference for either Infinity War or Endgame, I can't remember, but he said...
Me personally, it's the best fun I've ever had, and I'd be happy to do more if they wanted me.
So, hopefully, with him being in both movies, this does mean that he doesn't die, that he continues to go out and do things, and meet new people and face new awesome enemies. Marvel is really ramping up the whole cosmic sector of the Marvel Universe, and then with Doctor Strange's new movie coming up, or the multiverse and different dimensions and stuff. And so they're really expanding it, and Thor has a huge role in the comics throughout his time, being, you know, Prince of Asgard, King of Asgard, and doing a lot of stuff, not just with the Avengers, but out in space in different capacities. So, hopefully they continue that going. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got. One thing I do like that the Cosmic Wonder said in his video about the leak is that when they go to Sword, and we have the scene with Sword, they will introduce the director of Sword, which in this leak was not Nick Fury. It was actually Abigail Brand, who is in the comics the director, and she's a mutant with pyrokinetic, so fire-based powers. And that seems to line up as well, in the sense that Kevin Feige stated that the mutants are coming, and that based on all his comments and the way that they have slotted new movies and TV series, that there's going to be a slow trickle of mutants into the universe before they go on and do a full-fledged X-Men or mutants in the Marvel Universe. So, to see her there, for her to be one of the first X-Men / mutants in the Marvel Universe would be amazing, and just let us know that they are going ahead and that things are, you know, there are new things coming, and it would be brilliant to see what they do with that character, what they're going to do with Sword going forward, and yeah, it would also be a nice way to expand on the end credits scene from Spider-Man Far From Home. But anyway guys, that's going to be my video. I hope you've enjoyed this one. My question for you today is, based on everything we know, what do you think has happened to Lady Sif? She wasn't in Thor Ragnarok, she wasn't in the Infinity War or Endgame. People have looked for her in that big huge mass of heroes and found other people, but not her. So what do you think happened to her? We know that she is still alive. Where do you think she is? And will she show up in this next Thor movie? But anyway guys, that's it for today. So, bye guys!